Welcome back to another edition of the Knight Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie Schneider. Richie, we have a commitment to talk about. We have some good vibes coming towards the Rutgers football program in another top recruit, Caleb McConnell. While he didn't get drafted last night, he did sign with the team. And there is a portal guy that is interesting. Don't necessarily know if he'll end up at Rutgers, but somebody that's worth discussing. First, go a little off the top ropes here. Noah Shaw committed. He's another North Carolina kid. He committed actually before Elijah King yesterday, but how the sausage is made. The Elijah King commitment was actually known about for almost a full day. That's why we were able to get a podcast out pretty quickly about that. Mm-hmm. The Noah Shaw one kind of came out of nowhere. By the time we released yesterday, it was already, the news had just broken. Neither of us had the opportunity to actually get back on and record. So this is the commitment podcast, or the instant reaction for Noah Shaw as well. So Noah Shaw, tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, so technically he was a linebacker, but it's since changed. Rutgers wants him as an athlete. The minute I found out he was committing, I was kind of like, the fourth linebacker? I thought you just told me like 2 days ago or whatever it was that they're done at linebacker once you got Samari and Robinson. And I'm like, okay. I don't know how I'm going to explain this one. They're like, dude, just put DB. He's going to be a DB for us. And I was like, all right, that kind of makes sense. Tall, lengthy, 6'1", around a 200-pound range. Basically Shiano's MO when it comes to defensive backs. I haven't really watched a ton of his tape, but I started looking into it a little bit more. He's pretty fast. He runs where was he clocked at? I just had it too. Now, clocked at a 4.4740, a 4.43 shuttle. Bench press is 275. 10.4 broad jump. Like, these are pretty damn good testing numbers for a kid his size. I think this is a really good get for Rutgers. He plays safety and some linebacker for his high school program down in Asheville. It's a public school. I don't know how good they are, to be honest, because I really don't know much about North Carolina. But now I'm going to have to start learning because this is the third North Carolina commit for Rutgers. So I was talking to Adam Friedman, who covers the region down there, and he basically told me he's actually a really solid athlete, really good kid, sound tackler, okay in terms of coverage, not great, but not bad either. He did go from unranked in the state of North Carolina to now 32. And the more and more I look at the state of North Carolina, it's eerily similar to New Jersey. There's a couple top-heavy guys, then it's spread out throughout the rest of the class. I think there's 61 Power 5 offers or 61 prospects with Power 5 offers in North Carolina for 2024. There's 56 Power 5 offers for prospects in New Jersey for 2024. So it's a very similar state in terms of talent-wise overall. But yeah, really good get for Rutgers. They beat out. The main competition was Duke, who also took an official visit to right after Rutgers. And I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, wow, they beat out Duke." Like, no, it's more than that. Like, Duke is turning into a pretty solid program under Elko, and I think they're actually going to have another good year under him. On top of that, they also beat out Missouri, which he visited this spring, got an offer from. Vanderbilt was kind of pushing for an official visit as well. Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest, all schools kind of local-ish for him. Didn't offer, but they were very close to offering. They all three hosted them this spring as well. Basically, this is just a really solid get, another athlete, and you're adding more speed to your defense. And I think last pod or the pod before, I was kind of questioning like where they were going to go for defensive back because all you had was Dakari Gilly at safety, and now here's one of those DBs for the most part. So we'll wait and see what happens elsewhere. But now you have 2 DBs locked up, 3 linebackers, 4 defensive linemen. So for the most part, this defensive class is almost done, but not just quite yet.
Yeah, not quite yet, because I think there's 2 or 3 other guys that Rutgers is looking heavily at. But this is definitely one of the finishing pieces here for sure. What position do you expect him to play while he's at Rutgers?
I was told he's either going to play nickel or safety. I think they'll start him at nickel, kind of go from there. He's got a super skinny frame, I was told, so they can build on it. Like I said before, 6'1", 195. Let him play that nickel first, see how he does, and then kind of, honestly, just like I just said before, just go from there. His numbers are kind of crazy too for a junior. He played 11 games last year, 115 tackles, 3 sacks, 3
Wow.
tackles for loss, 15 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries. Like, he kind of does it all for his high school program, it seems like.
Wow.
So I mean, this is a really solid get. I know a lot of people weren't too high on it on our message boards, but I really like this get, and he's a kid I actually predicted to end up in the class in our June crystal ball post about 3 weeks ago.
Interesting. Yeah, so this is a pretty intriguing player. Sounds like he, he's played basically everywhere for his high school, and we'll just kind of have to see how he fits in here.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about him before we move on to something else?
No, like I said, good get. They got him on campus. He loved to visit, and they beat out a couple Power 5 programs, and that's kind of been the MO for this recruiting class, especially on the defensive side.
Nice. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was we had previously reported that things were trending poorly for Rutgers and Corey Duff. Now, maybe
Correct.
Things have swung back in Rutgers' favor here. So Corey Duff is scheduled to commit next Thursday, so June 29th. He's having a commitment ceremony. You're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us the latest intel on Corey Duff, who is the number 1 player in the state of New York, 4-star kid, just got bumped up. What are you hearing there?
So basically, it was down to North Carolina or Rutgers when he made his announcement that he's going to commit next week. And it sounded like it was a really very, very close. It sounded like Rutgers was in a slight lead there. And then all of a sudden, Miami came back into the picture this week. He was down there for OT7, which is like overtime elite 7-on-7 camp. And word was that he wasn't really getting as much interest from Miami as previously. Then all of a sudden, I think it was Tuesday or Monday, he actually posted in a group chat of a close friend of ours, of his uncle, I should say, and said that he's like, hey, I'm not going to be around this weekend. I'm going to Miami. And it's like, oh, wait, hold up. I thought Miami wasn't like pushing for you, wasn't really taking you. And then he was going to go down there yesterday for the Legends Camp, it's called, down at Miami, and it's like their big camp every year. He was going to go down there, work out for a potential opportunity to take an official visit this weekend with the Hurricanes, but that's since been canceled. Miami's out. That's it. North Carolina or Rutgers next Thursday, and it sounds like he's going to end up with Rutgers. It's going to be a tough one to hold on to, in my opinion, because it did seem kind of like his recruitment's been interesting. It sounded like he was all Rutgers all the way early on. Then all of a sudden these Power 5s came in, and then they started to drift off a little bit again, and now it was Rutgers, North Carolina in the end. If you asked me who his finalists were going to be about 6 months ago, I probably wouldn't even have North Carolina in that category. So I think that they're going to land him next Thursday. I think it's going to be tough to hold on to him. So it's up to the staff to basically do everything they can to just keep him as a part of this, or potential part of this 2024 class. But it sounds like it's all Rutgers. This is a huge get for them too if they pull this off.
Yeah, because he'd be the first and only 4-star of the class. I'm saying that can't change. Rutgers is involved with a couple other 4-stars that are realistic, but top kid in the state of New York, a kid that Rutgers has targeted for a while, a kid who basically everywhere he's gone, he's been dominant. I know he won the receiver award at the Rivals camp you were at, and he's torn up some 7-on-7s. Like basically everywhere he's gone, he's been arguably the best player at the camp. So it's you want kids like that on your team. So it would be a big pickup.
No, this is a huge pickup if they could pull it off. Number one, just because you're getting New York's top kid, you're getting a 4-star. He's technically a tight end per our database, number 18 tight end, mind you. But he's going to go wide receiver at Rutgers to start at the very least. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because I feel like a year ago, when just talking to like not just Lenny, but anyone in New York, all you heard was like Keaton Brown, Aris Bethia, Josiah Brown as like the top recruits. And like you heard about Corey Duff, you heard he was pretty good. And then all of a sudden, this man skyrocketed this offseason and goes from 5th best, 6th best in New York to number 1 overall, like clear as day number 1. So it's been quite the journey for Corey Duff, and shout out to him because he's worked his ass off this offseason. He's just dominant. So like you said, Rivals Camp MVP, and that's wide receiver MVP. That's not just like wide receiver / tight end MVP. He was the best receiver of that group, and that featured some significant names, including another Rutgers target in Sage Clawges, who's going to be on campus this weekend. So shout out to him. It's a hell of a leap from, I want to say December till now.
Yeah, no, big jump for him for sure. Is there any other football-related stuff you wanted to hit on before we pivot to basketball?
I'm looking now. Like I said, Sage Clawges will be here this weekend. Sounds like they're really in a good spot for him. I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up with Rutgers. I already have a future cast in for him. He's technically another athlete / wide receiver / multi-position player. One other name I'm keeping a close eye on now is Kaj Sanders. Kaj Sanders is a Bergen Catholic DB, and you probably heard that, and you're like, oh, nope, never mind. He's not coming. Yep. It'd be kind of ironic if they landed a Bergen Catholic DB the year Nunzio leaves, but a Bergen Catholic player in general the year Nunzio leaves, but it sounds like they're starting to push a little bit more and more, and it sounds like it's either North Carolina or Rutgers, with the family wanting him a little bit closer to home. I know Dad's a big fan of North Carolina, but it sounds like they did a really good job of trying to win him over this weekend, or just earlier this week on their official visit. So this is going to be a tough one. It's a lot closer than I thought it would be. Previously, I would have told you, like, no, he's gone. He's North Carolina all the way. But now it sounds like it's almost neck and neck. And I know Sanders' advisor is Latish Kinsler. Latish Kinsler, the big connection here at Rutgers. I'll just go over it real quick. Latish Kinsler is the president of the football side of Lifestyle Sports Agency. Where have I heard that before? Lifestyle Sports Agency. Who's the president of the basketball side? Omar Cooper. Oh, there we go. So there's a little connection there. On top of that, Latish Kinsler's nephew, Jordan Kinsler, is Rutgers' preferred walk-on DB on this, or DB or running back. I forget. I think he might be a running back, actually, but is on the current Scarlet Knights roster and has been there for a couple years now. So who else does Latish Kinsler represent? Basically all the big names in North Jersey currently, including Kaj Sanders, including Willie Love, including J.Mo McClain, Yasin Willis, missing someone I can't think of, but I mean, this is a guy to being great to be in the good graces of. And as an advisor, he also helps with academics, with this and studying and NIL, of course, because that's the name of the game. And from the sound of it, it sounds like Rutgers is playing an NIL game. I'm not going to say they are or not for sure, but according to some other coaches, it seems that's what they're blaming recruiting on right now. So we'll wait and see if that's true or not. But if it is, it's about time.
Yeah, no, for sure. But speaking of basketball, so last night was the NBA draft. There was a very outside chance that Caleb McConnell was going to get selected. He did not get selected, but he did get signed to an Exhibit 10 contract after the draft by the OKC Thunder.
Yes.
Which they have a pretty good eye for talent. They've done a really good job drafting under Sam Presti. They obviously have a ton of young guys on their team. Caleb was, so an Exhibit 10 contract, each team gets 6 of these. It's basically a minimum 1-year deal, but it's also non-guaranteed. So we've talked about two-way deals in discussion with the Cliff, with how, Cliff's NBA decision came down. Ron Harper Jr. was on a two-way contract last year. So this is like a step down from a two-way contract. It's obviously great to sign on with the team right after the draft. This can convert to a two-way contract if the team chooses. They have to announce that before the season. So my sense on this is, they get him on this Exhibit 10 contract. They see him at Summer League. They see him at the facility. They kind of work him out, see how much they can improve his shooting this summer, and that'll kind of determine his future with OKC. What are you hearing about the whole Caleb McConnell situation?
Yeah, so basically, I know he did, like I said before in the last pod, I think he did 8 workouts for the NBA teams, the Magic, the Lakers, Hornets. I forget who the other 5 were. That doesn't matter at this point. But yeah, no, it sounds like he's going to go to the Summer League. He's going to try to earn a spot. I mean, first off, you get some decent money right off the bat. It's not crazy money for NBA, but your minimum salary, I think, is in like the 100 110, 105 range, something like that. So I mean, you get a nice little payday regardless, and you get a shot at the league. So basically, if you can prove your worth at summer league, it's been proven that you can make that leap to the next level, whether that be a two-way, whether that just be a G League spot. I'll be honest right now, I'm gonna be a little negative here. I think in the end of the day, he's not going to get the two-way deal. I think he'll end up with a G League spot though, if he wants it, or he goes overseas and makes some money over there. Makes more money over there technically. Well, whatever happens. I guess we'll kind of just wait and see. But it's going to be cool to see him in the summer league, especially for people who like watching it, like myself. So, like watching the young prospects, up and comers, and this. I'm looking at the Thunder's G League team right now. It doesn't look like there's anyone really too crazy on there. The most notable name is probably Andre Roberson, who's been in the league for God knows how long at this point.
Yeah.
But I guess it's a kind of a similar build to him too. Actually, the more I think about it, he's like 6'6", 200, 6'2", 210, something like that. Can't shoot a three, but can play defense. So very similar, actually. Maybe they can turn him into Andre Roberson. That'd be ideal in the long run. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with Caleb. But shout out to him for getting Exhibit 10. And the other thing I want to mention is people are like, well, number one, what's an Exhibit 10? You mentioned it. But number two is like there's a lot of players on Exhibit 10 contracts. Like it's not just him. Like Drew Timme, who one of the best players in college basketball, got an Exhibit 10. Yep. And nowadays too, there's so many guys that go undrafted that make it to the league. It's not unheard of anymore. So we'll wait and see what he does in the summer league. But I think he's got a shot to at least make the G League at the very minimum. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't write it off, especially if he can make some leaps and bounds in his offensive game with new coaching at NBA level coaching. But we shall see. I'm pulling for him. I really hope it works out for him because he's got one side of the ball totally locked down. He is an NBA level defender without a doubt.
Big time.
It's just he's not an NBA level offensive player yet, but that can change.
Yep. So
we'll just have to monitor that.
We'll see.
So that transfer that we previously mentioned. So as a lot of you know, Bob Huggins was. I guess he wasn't let go. He resigned from his position as West Virginia's head coach. And people were kind of wondering, is that team going to stick together because it's a lot of transfers? The first cracks in the armor started last night when Trey Mitchell, who some of you might remember as a target from Rutgers in the past, announced that he is transferring. Richie, take us down memory road here. Trey Mitchell. When was he recruited to Rutgers, and tell us a little bit about him?
So he was a center prospect from Connecticut all the way back in 2019. I said, damn, all the way back. That's 4 years ago now. That's crazy. So he was actually a prospect for Rutgers for a long time. He had several high major offers from Arkansas, Notre Dame, Illinois, UConn. I think he took an official visit to, but he ended up with UMass because I believe they hired his assistant coach at the time. So he went to UMass, then he went down to Texas, or went to UMass for 2 seasons, then went down to Texas for a year, transferred to West Virginia, and he's back in the portal for the 18th time at this point. It's kind of crazy, but he put up some solid numbers, it seems like. What did he average? He averaged, his first 2 years, he averaged 17 and 18. Then he dipped a little bit year 3, but then he bounced back this past year and averaged 11 and 5.5, whatever. Really good player, really good big man. He's probably a 4 for the most part, but I guess he could play small ball 5 because he's a little bit bulkier. I know he's only listed 6'9", 225, but if you look at his build, he looks like he's a little bit thicker than that. So it sounds like he's all but gifted to the Blue Bloods, and by Blue Bloods, I mean the Blue Blood in Kentucky. So,
damn.
Yeah, sounds like Calipari's just gonna sneak another one. But the fact that Rutgers definitely was interested, but it's just it's end of the day, it's Kentucky. He's going to be a one and done. They have a million roster spots still over there, so they're kind of reaching out to everyone. They reached out to Paul Mulcahy. They're a contender for. They just added Joey Hart, 2023 guard, Trey Mitchell. So yeah, there's still, I don't know what the hell happened over there, but their roster is completely in flux. Everyone wants to complain about Rutgers, but like you got 10 scholarship players. Kentucky hasn't had 10 scholarship players in a little while now. So
Yeah.
I know they're one and dones mostly, but like it's a rough look over there for the Wildcats. It's not as easy as it used to be for Calipari with the way NIL works, the way the portal works, and one and dones too. So all that good stuff. But yeah, it sounds like he's going to go to Kentucky, and Rutgers is going to have to look elsewhere for a portal prospect, which the focus still seems to be guard at the moment.
Interesting. Yeah, sorry for the tease there. I mainly just saw the name and that he was transferring. I wanted to see Richie's take on it, but it sounds like he will not be coming to Rutgers. I think it'll be interesting to see who they end up having on campus. I know we've heard some names, but we can't really mention those
not
quite yet. But it will be interesting because I do think they're looking for a starter level player, especially at guard for next season. But we'll see who they can actually land.
Yeah. On top of that, they're still pursuing high school kids. Amdi Njai, who visited recently, we kind of hit on 3 pods ago, whatever it was. He's definitely going to go 2024. It sounds like he's going to visit Rhode Island this weekend. For those of you that don't remember, he's just a high motor, athletic kid. He's a little skinny, but he fights for rebounds down low. I think he's a legit 6'9", 6'10", something like that. Pretty good defender, good finisher. Just a really solid player from Long Island Lutheran that I would probably keep an eye on. I don't think Rutgers is going to offer just yet, because if he's going to go 2024, they're going to be a little selective there, especially because you kind of already have your power forward / center combo already in Ace and Lathan. But I know Ace can kind of move around, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I don't think they'd offer just yet. So that's just a name to monitor as they continue to try to fill out that 2024 class with ideally Dylan Harper and potentially someone else as well.
Interesting. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. Is there anything else we haven't hit on yet that you want to touch on before we head out today?
Sham God, man. Arrest that man. Are you kidding me? Did you see what he did?
No.
So everyone's talking about...
I thought you were talking Landry Shamit.
No.
Sham. Okay.
Yeah, no. Arrest him. That man just committed fraud completely. Tweeted out like what? Couple hours before the draft, it sounds like Scoot Henderson is making ways to be the number 2 pick, and it's like, you tweeted that, but you work for FanDuel. Then FanDuel's odds changed, then everyone bets on Scoot Henderson, and everyone else was reporting Brandon Miller. So if you were smart, you probably could have made some money if you didn't want to believe Shams, but Shams is always pretty accurate for the most part. But now that he's employed by FanDuel, it's like, go fuck yourself, dude. Like, you just
see how wildly the odds change throughout the day?
Insane. That's what I'm saying. You could have made some serious money if you were just confident in Brandon Miller the whole time.
So here were the number 2, the favorite, the odds for the number 2 pick yesterday, and I'm only going to go with the favorite because that's really all that matters. At 8 a.m. Mountain Time, it was minus 600 for Brandon Miller. 9:45 Mountain Time, it was minus 200 for Brandon Miller. 10:30, which is when Shams made that tweet, minus 700 for Scoot. Totally flips.
You could have.
By 11:45, minus 300 for Scoot. By 3 o'clock, minus 140 for Scoot. By 3:30, minus 140 for Miller. By 4 o'clock, minus 190 for Miller. And by the time the draft actually happened, it was like minus 400 for Miller. So apparently,
easy money.
This is from Ant Wright. He said that Woj did the same thing last year and got paid to do it, in terms of putting out a tweet that was just, what I'm hearing about X pick before the draft. I think it was the number 1 pick or number 2, because it was number 1 last year, because people were not sure if it was going to be Paolo, if it was going to be Chet, or if it was going to be whatever. It's shitty. I can't imagine that this is gonna get cleaned up. I'd imagine at some point, but
has to, right? Like, this is ridiculous. But other than that, I also wanted to say I'd keep a close eye on this West Virginia roster still. I forgot to mention it before. There's probably going to be more players that are going to enter the portal, so keep an eye on those guys. there's a Hofstra guard, I believe. There's a Syracuse transfer that transferred in this offseason, and an all ACC player. I know he's a center, so probably not, but Jesse Edwards. There's a couple other guards, I believe, too, that are notable.
It's a few New York guys on that roster. There's 3 kids from New York City: Jose Perez, Joe Toussaint, and Mo Wagyu.
Yeah, and Joe Toussaint, if I recall correctly, is a former Big Ten player as well.
Yep, he used to play for Iowa. Yeah,
so could be a name to watch. Could keep an eye on that one, but we'll wait and see. It does sound like Pike Hall does have a short list of guards ready to go. Sounds like that's going to be delayed a little bit. Like I mentioned in our last pod, this week they're going to hit the road starting today. Recruiting, they're going to next week is the Steve Peichel basketball camp, team camp, prospect camp, whatever you want to call it. It's not like football where there's all a bunch of top prospects. This is mostly for like the younger kids that just get to hang out with the players, the coaches, etc. I'm not sure what day, but we will be there in attendance talking to Pike, talking to the new freshmen. So if you have any questions for Pike, obviously shoot them in our comments below, put them on our message board, DM me if you're curious and you have a specific question that you think no one ever asks because everyone's afraid to ask everything that's not the basic. And I believe 7-on-7 football camp tomorrow for Rutgers football. I'll be there. I'll be miserable because it's supposed to rain all day. So, but hopefully some good talent still shows up and get some cool clips in the rain of some guys either making crazy catches or crazy good defense. One of the two, hopefully. But we'll wait and see what happens there. And then, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening, guys. We had a lot of episodes this week, a lot of commitments. I expect things to start dying down. So, I mean, the way we do things, we don't really.
Hold on. We'll make it a commitment this weekend again.
There might be a couple coming up. I don't want people to expect 4 episodes a week. We just, the way we do things, we just don't want to put out pods unless there's news because it's so hard to create content. When there's not actual news items to discuss. I know some people do, like Brightman does a good job with it, but that's just it's hard to do a podcast every day at Rutgers.
That's a tough one.
But guys, thanks for listening once again. The contest is still active until next week. I don't know a specific date we're going to end it, but let's just say by Wednesday of next week the contest will end. So if you haven't yet already, put Pounding Nails into the comment section below. And if you include your rival's screen name and you're a premium member, you'll get a second entry into the contest. And we have 3 prizes that are going to be given. And we'll announce those next week. Like I said, we'll aim for Wednesday for the contest to end.
So, yeah, that's you're killing me here. I'm going to have to go through every single comment.
I'll do it.
No, it's okay. I'll figure it out. It's not that hard, I don't think. Just being lazy. Just being lazy.
All right, guys. Well, have a great weekend. Thanks again for listening. This has been another edition of the Net Report Podcast. Signing off.